good evening, valued audience and speakers. We welcome you to the highly anticipated YALDA webinar under the theme Mental Health at Work. So today, we look forward to discussing avenues in supporting and strengthening each other to create workplaces where a well-being and mental health shine bright as a talent. So my name is Gift Chawa. I'm the YALDA Multimedia Writing Team member, and it's my pleasure to moderate this session. And I welcome you all to this discussion. Please, I need you all to feel free to ask questions, to contribute, to comment as we carry on the discussion. Okay, so we have some few rules that I'm going to read out to you. So when you join the meeting, ensure that you stay on mute, not until we request you to unmute yourself. And then ensure your camera is off. We need to respect everyone else's data here, as we know that in Africa things are getting expensive, including the data. So if you have a question, we request you to type it or comment in the chat box only as guided. And then include your name and the country which you are coming from. Those questions and comments are selected, will be asked to unmute your mic and speak accordingly. So if you are asked to speak, please, you need to introduce yourself. You tell us your name and the country where you are coming from. That's all we need. And then if we don't choose you, you can still send your question in the chat box. Okay. So to begin, Youth Alliance and Leadership and Development in Africa is committed to supporting Africa's youth by fostering environments where mental health is prioritized, by creating safe spaces for dialogue, providing access to mental health resources, and building partnerships with organizations working in this space. We aim to make mental health support more accessible to African youths. We call upon all African communities, employers, governments, civil society, and all other stakeholders to prioritize mental health in the workplaces, as this is very important to our national developments. So mental health is everyone's responsibility, and by working together, we can build a future where Africa's youths thrive, not only in their careers, but also in their well-being. So this is essential to the development of strong, resilient, and productivity in our societies. So we look forward to discussing avenues in supporting and strengthening each other to create workplaces where well-being and mental health shine bright as talent. Therefore, at this juncture, allow me to recognize Pesiki Filwe Kabostwe, sorry if I mispronounce your name, coming from Botswana, and also Orarato Romakwa from Botswana also, who helped us to come up with all the materials that we needed to carry out this webinar. So my name is Gift Chawa, as I earlier introduced myself. Okay, so now allow me to introduce the speakers that we have in this webinar. So I'll start with Dr. Zoe White, who is a clinical consultant and mental health social worker from Mauritius and Australia. Number 2, we have Kenneth Kachingwe, a mental health and psychiatric specialist from Malawi. Number third. Okay, so number third, we have Angel Torres, public health educator, maternal child and adolescent health from Guinea. Number fourth, our fourth speaker, we have, sorry if I'm going to mispronounce the word, we have Moshada Sibinaren, Doctor of Medicine and Social Worker, Mauritius. And then our final speaker, we have Gloria Lucky Adog, who is a mental health educator from Uganda. Okay, so at this point in time, I'm going to ask the presenters to get ready so that they can give us what they presented for us. And the presentation will be done according to the way we are reading out the introductions. So to start with, our first speaker will come in, Dr. Zoe White. Are you ready?
I certainly am. Would you like me to share my slides?
Yes, sure. We're going to share your slides also.
Okay.
Okay, so Dr. Zoe.
Wonderful. Just give me a moment and I can share my screen here. So hello everyone, it's an absolute pleasure to be here this evening. My name is Zoe, and just a little bit of context about my background. This will make sense more so when I explain this. I'm originally Australian. I'm a mental health social worker with a PhD in the area of trauma and resilience. I have spent the last 10 years outside of Australia, living in Southeast Asia, conducting research, working as a trauma therapist, and I've spent the last 4 years living in Mauritius. My husband is Mauritian. And over these years, I've been working with a EAP, an employee assistance provider, and I have conducted training right across the region for leadership teams, for Fortune 500s. So that has been a big part of my work and a very interesting part, because I get to hear from the world about mental health in the workplace and about how people perceive mental health. And in my very short presentation, I wanted to share with you some of the insights from Gallup. And Gallup does global research on the state of the world and our well-being. And their most recent research that came out in August of this year talks to well-being, as you can see here, in Africa. And we've got the countries that participated at the bottom of the slide there. And Gallup asks these questions to ascertain how well we're all doing. Did you experience stress yesterday? Did you experience anger, sadness, loneliness? And these statistics that you see are a regional snapshot. And what is in brackets is the global average. So you can see here for all four of these areas or feelings, Africa is scoring higher than the global average. And I'd love to hear some comments from the group as to why you feel that might be and what are some of those considerations for the region. Because when we look at this kind of context, how are people feeling at work? Are they feeling worried about their future? Is it economic insecurity, job security? We need to build awareness as to how we respond to this. And what I have seen a lot of organisations do is, well, I'm part of an EAP, but also looking at awareness campaigns and programs, because when people know that it exists, this is half of the challenge. Following that, there is a lot of stigma still attached to mental health globally. And this stops people from reaching out. It stops people from talking about their feelings, from being empowered to say, I'm not okay today. And that messaging, it's okay to not be okay. It is Mental Health Month this month. And I've seen and conducted a lot of sessions, and organizations are really trying to bring forward this message. And a big part of that reason is it's costing organizations billions globally. And what we've seen is mental health in every country go through the roof. We are more aware, so people are being diagnosed with mental health more. However, there are still a lot of people that are suffering in silence. So the more we talk about it, the more we spotlight this important area, the more likely people are to reach out. And even though, yes, I am a therapist, not all roads lead to therapy, but they certainly lead to social connection. So having people to talk to, having family support, community support, or external support groups can make all the difference. All right. And that was my very short presentation. And you can certainly find some of my research in these areas on ResearchGate for any of you that are interested. And I'd love to hear from the other speakers now. So I'll pass it back over to Gift.
Thank you so much, Dr. Zoe. You are really doing a recommendable job out there. And we pray that and we urge you that you continue changing lives out there. Okay, so if there's anybody who has got a question, we'll allow you to type it in the chat box. Yes, or you can hold it. And when it is time for questions and answer session, we'll give you that time to ask questions. Okay, so remember you have 5 minutes to do your presentation to the speakers. Yes, under 5 minutes, you should be able to conclude. So we go to our second speaker, Kenneth Kachingwe, if he's on the call. So I have a question for you, Kenneth. Are you on the call? Do we have Kenneth on the call? Okay. We go to the next speaker, who is Angel Torres. Are you on the call, Angel?
Hello. Yes, I am. Hello. Give me one moment to get started.
Thank you. I have a question for you, Angel.
Yeah, tell me.
Yes. How has your time as a Peace Corps volunteer shaped your perspective on the link between mental health and public health, particularly for youth and vulnerable populations?
Yeah, I think being on the ground and really living in the communities, it's a whole different kind of understanding, and it's hands-on and it's all hands on deck. And when you're right there and you're seeing the challenges firsthand, you realize just how much of a disconnect there is between talking about change and actually being a part of it. And I think sometimes as a society, we've become comfortable, sometimes too comfortable. There's this entitlement that comes with saying, I've done my part, whether, it's reading the news online or calling out injustice or tweeting the latest, trending hashtag. But sometimes I think it's actually about showing up, and it's about being present on the front lines. And I'll admit it, I was one of the, modern social media warriors that we see online nowadays. And I remember before I moved to Guinea, I was sitting on my couch in Harlem, and I had just graduated from college, and I was staring at these job offers. I'm very blessed to have received offers from private schools, consulting, and real estate firms, but none of it made me feel alive. None of it made me feel like I was living up to the opportunities that I had been given. And then it hit me, what a waste to have all this privilege, to have this education, to have the access that I have, and to not share it, to not use it. So I applied to the Peace Corps, and I didn't care where they placed me. I said, here's my resume, put me wherever I'm needed most. And I ended up working in maternal, child, and adolescent health. And it was in coming here that I even just realized how wrong my preconceptions were about Africa. Because, people talk about Africa like it's a country, but it's a continent, and it is vast, and it is diverse, and it is filled with cultures that share a very beautiful, beautiful, beautiful common thread, and yet are distinct in every possible way. And not too long thereafter, I'm living with no running water, no electricity, and witnessing things that I'd only read about in reports, infant mortality rates, malnutrition, the harsh reality of malaria, the trauma of birthing practices, and it hits you. It's very, very, very heavy. And you realize just how dire things are. And it's like you're digging deeper into the earth and you find a crack, a fault line that runs through everything. And that's when I saw it, that mental health and public health, they're two sides of the same coin. You can't have one without the other. So it's easy to get caught up in our own worlds, me, my struggles, my achievements. But when you're here and when you're in the work, you start to see that we're all connected. Our brothers, our sisters, our neighbors, we share a bond that transcends the borders, the cultures, and the language. And so that's what makes this work so urgent and so necessary. And so we have to start talking about mental health, not as a luxury, not as something reserved for those with access to therapy, but as a necessity, right? We need to create spaces where it's okay to talk about feeling anxious, feeling overwhelmed, grieving, and not just in hospitals or clinics, but in classrooms and community centers, around dinner tables. And, we have to start asking ourselves, what is mental health really? And what does it mean to be well, to feel whole, to have, a strong relationship with yourself, with your community, your career, the people around you? It's not a concept that's familiar to everybody. And a lot of people have never heard the words mental health or depression in their own languages. And we have to break that down. We have to make it real, and we have to make it tangible. And so in places like Guinea, the trusted voices are the voices that matter. And we have to start engaging, community leaders, elders, and those whose words carry weight, local organizations, because we need them to champion these conversations. It's about creating spaces where someone can say, I'm struggling, and know that there's a community that's ready to listen and ready to support. Because this world, I don't think it's going to get better until we start looking after one another. And if there's one thing my time as a Peace Corps volunteer has taught me, it's that none of us can afford to sit this one out. And so we need to get real about access. We have to start talking about who gets to have these conversations and who has the resources to heal. And yeah, it is incredible. And I'm so grateful and blessed to be here today, sharing my experiences, but it's not enough, right? We have to center the voices of the people who live these realities every single day. Because it's not just about amplifying and uplifting, right? It's about stepping back and asking them, what does moving forward look like for you? And then let them lead the way. And we just support and amplify and hold hands and walk in unity.
Well, thank you so much for that presentation. So I would want to make a follow-up question. You mentioned about using influencers or maybe community leaders to, create that platform to talk to the people, and you make them to feel so comfortable such that when they have an issue, they are able to come out in open, and they just air out their pain and all that. So what has been the response? Has that worked? Angel? Okay, we seem to have lost Angel. Okay, if we have contributions towards what Angel was just from presenting, you can please Okay, you can please send a text or a comment in the chat box, and then we are going to review it. If you have a question, you can just jot it down somewhere, and then we'll give you a chance to actually come in and ask that question. Okay, so we move to the next speaker, Dr. Moshada. Are you on the call?
Yes.
Ah, great. Okay.
Yeah.
So Doc, I have a question for you.
Can everyone hear me well?
From my end, you are very audible.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. So it's Dr. Mokshada Shubnarayan from Mauritius, and I'm happy to be part of this webinar to contribute to this good cause for which we have all joined this meeting for today. And yeah, so I can present from my end, right?
Okay, so here's a quick question for you, Doc. In your experience working across youths, empowerment, and social work, what are the most pressing mental health issues facing young people entering the workforce today?
I'll start with I think the most common ones that we know. I believe we will have different parts of the different age groups from the general population facing these troubles. But from what I've seen and from what I have researched, I see that.
Help us to share your presentation.
Yeah, actually, I can speak about the quick points and then go over that later.
No, I'm saying you beam your screen, your presentation.
Is it not visible on the screen?
It's not.
Wait.
Oh, you may continue. You may continue.
Okay. So I'm sorry for that technical issue. So yeah, so as I was saying, so the most common troubles that we see these young people face when they are entering the workforce is anxiety and stress. So I think with the coming generations, there is this pressure to succeed, the need to meet high expectations and navigate increasingly competitive job market. And with these expectations, this pressure, and such competitive markets, this can lead obviously to really significant levels of anxiety and stress in the younger population. I've also noticed in the age group from 14 to 25, an increasing percentage of young people facing depression. So this comes with feelings of isolation, uncertainty about the future, and challenges of adjusting to the work-life pressure that they are not used to, transitioning from a teenage period to adulting can really contribute to depression if they are not taught the proper ways, the proper tools, they are not equipped with the proper tools to deal with such changing tides, as we say. Also, burnout, as we know, many young workers experience burnout, or also known as chronic fatigue syndrome in the medical world, because of increasing high workloads, long hours, and a lack of work-life balance, often exacerbated, made worse by work expectations, especially with the surge in the practice of working remotely from their home. There is not really a set schedule of when the time starts in the office and when the time ends at home. So there's this blurring of the working hours, and so the growing expectations from the employer and the need of these young people to impress the employers and get remunerated for that. So there is this trend of not wanting to stop, and some even joke about it and call it the no sleep team, where they try to compete about how long they can go, how many hours they can work until they pass out. So this is also quite worrying. There is also imposter syndrome. So new employees may struggle with feelings of inadequacy and self-doubt fearing that they don't belong to the workplace culture, to feeling that they are not as capable as their peers, and so may need some time for adjustment as they navigate their work life. The effects of social media pressure, we all know there is this influence of the media, of the different apps that we use, of technology, and leading to unrealistic comparisons and increased anxiety, whether it's about personal, about physical, about professional achievements. The need to be always the one who has a better track record, whether it comes to personal or professional achievements. And so everyone is bragging about stuff that they may not even be having. And so this leads to unrealistic standards and people obviously failing to keep up with those thresholds. Job insecurity, I would also say, contributes to a lot of these important mental health issues like anxiety and stress. And we know the problems that Africa faces when it comes to creating job opportunities for the younger populations. The issue of unstable governments, instability in the political field, in the economic sector. So, and the fear about future unemployment really triggers further anxiety and stress in the lives of these young people. And of course, while they're facing all of these issues, there is the lack of support. These young people may feel that they are not heard by the older population, and that they do not feel seen, and thus they can go on to experience those symptoms and may find it very difficult to get out of this toxic cycle. And so I think what we really have joined together today to discuss is how we can address these issues that are becoming really important so as to foster a healthier work environment and promote mental health being among younger professionals, and what we can do to make a difference in the lives of people, whether at our workplace or in our own personal lives. Yeah, so that will be my bit about what younger populations face when they enter the workforce.
Okay, that was quite insightful. So like I mentioned, if there is anybody with a comment or a question, you can just send it to the chat box, or you hold it, and then you're going to ask it when the time is right. Okay, so we go to the next speaker, Gloria. Is Gloria on the call?
Yes, please, I'm on the call.
I think you'll have to present first, then we'll come back to Angel, and then we'll follow up to Gloria. You can present first. Dr. If you can hear me, I think you are loading your. You can go ahead and load your presentation. Then we come back to Angel, then following up with Gloria's Kennedy, please to join.
I'm sorry, I'm having trouble hearing.
You can load your presentation, as you had already prepared it to present.
Okay. Pardon, Valencia, you're kind of breaking a lot. I don't know if it is network.
Okay, so he's saying that you can present.
Okay.
Yes, since you already have your presentation.
Thank you so much. Okay, thank you so much for this opportunity. I think we should imagine a place where every employee feels really valued, supported, and empowered to thrive. Like a place where mental health is not just something that people talk about,
We're unable to hear you.
Hello?
Yeah, you had gone mute.
Had gone mute, sorry. I don't know where you stopped hearing me from.
Mokhtar, you can come back in with your presentation, then you be followed by Gloria.
Okay, I can hear you now.
Yeah, you can pick the presentation.
Do I have access to switch the slides? I'm sorry, I have to ask.
Yeah, I'll help you switch the slides. Okay, go ahead, please.
Okay, so this is just a quick presentation. We can really skip over the words that are in there. So looking back at World Mental Health Day, which is celebrated on the 10th of October each year. So we have to make sure that we owe it to the World Federation for Mental Health, the founder of the World Mental Health Day, with the absolutely awesome campaign that they have come up with this year. And as we all know, I'm pretty sure that the WHO has conceptualized mental health as a state where the individual is able to understand their abilities to cope with normal stresses of life, work productively, understand their abilities, and contribute to the society. What we mean by that is to pay it forward to the society and ultimately contribute to the future generations. Why I would like to mention, I would like to highlight here is that as a medical practitioner, I believe this definition gets lost in the translation, I'm sure, as to what people refer to as being in a good level of a good status of health, is that they tend to forget about mental health. And so can we go to the next slide? Yeah, so my key point about this whole presentation, the most important slide would be this one, which I find is very important. So it's the biopsychosocial model of health. It looks at mental health as being this joint part of all the spheres of health. So according to this theory of psychology, it says that the workings of the body, the mind, and the environment all affect each other. And according to this model, there is no factor in isolation that can lead to someone's deterioration in the status of their health or lead to a disease or an illness. It is this interrelation of all the spheres that result in a specific outcome, whether it's positive or negative. So we have to understand that mental health is a really broad concept. It has biological factors, it has social and environmental factors, and it has psychological factors. And coming from research, it comes to this really delicate balance of all these factors coming into play and leading to what we would call the good level of mental health that one would aspire for. And so we really have different factors that we can work. So for example, if someone is, let's say, having a biological constraint, for example, in terms of schizophrenia as a problem, as a mental health disorder, there are other parts in the spheres where they can optimize to make sure that they reach a certain optimum level of mental health and contribute to their life and obviously have a good balance. Next slide, please. So mental health at work is often overlooked because as an employer, as an employee, we are really focusing on the productivity, we're focusing on the deadlines, we're focusing on the performance, on success, and on how we can make it big. So it is very easy to overlook mental health and how significantly it impacts our ability to perform until and unless we are facing really big troubles. And so coming back to the stats, as we say, depression and anxiety cost the global economy about $1 trillion each year in lost productivity. So once they had these figures highlighted in the different researchers, employers understood the importance of mental health, and they knew they had to gamble on this. They had to make sure that their employees have a good level of mental health to ensure organizational success, and obviously have what we call group succession of the team, group succession of the whole project, of whatever future that they are working for. Next slide, please. So it's not just an individual concern, it's a collective responsibility. And so we have to make sure that our colleagues at our workplace feel supported and valued, and they feel open enough, they feel vulnerable enough to come up to us when they are facing a problem, whether they want to talk about us about a specific toxic work culture that they have come across, before it leads to important and adverse outcomes like burnout, like decreased morale and high turnover rates, where employees find it easier to quit than to talk to their employers about the problems that they are facing. And so what can organizations do differently to foster a healthy, mentally healthy workplace is that they can come up with different solutions, which I'm going to talk about next. So we can start by promoting open dialogue where people feel safe to talk about their problems, open conversations from employee to employer, training sessions, and obviously we will have emerging leaders who should have to model this behavior. So people can come up and say, I have faced this and this issue, and this is the methods, this is the ways that I have used to overcome this problem, this hurdle, and so inspire others to come forward and do the same. There is also the option of, next slide, please. Implementing support systems. That means making sure that people have access to counseling services. People, for example, companies, whether governmental or non-governmental, can hire part-time or full-time clinical psychologists who are available to talk to the employees as and when needed upon their request. Obviously, we have to make sure that there is a certain level of confidentiality in terms of what we can do to protect the rights of these employees, as to the access, to the degree of access the employers have in terms of important data, health data on their employees. But obviously, these are small nuances that we'll have to work on in the future. But to start, we can have training managers recognizing signs of distress in their teams and making sure that the signs of distress are catered for by the professional help that they can get from the different specialists, whether it's a psychologist, a psychiatrist, a mental health volunteer. It could be anyone who's willing to take up this initiative. Next slide, please. We could also foster a positive culture where there is no room for a toxic work environment. So people recognize and celebrate each other, promote teamwork. They are there to high five each other first. They are not there to do competition. I mean, they could compete with each other, but it has to be healthy competition instead of a toxic work culture where it means that if one is succeeding, all the others are going to fail. So it could be that everyone is succeeding in their own projects and they are there for each other, and they are the ones that will cheer for their friends when they make it. And I think we'll have the providing training. So anyone's, whether it's an employee, it's an employer, or anyone who is willing to be a mental health advocate can have training on stress management, on resilience and coping strategies that they can learn and then share and teach other people. And it's important to make sure that we have everyone equipped with these tools to handle all the challenges that will obviously empower them to take charge of their mental health. And I think to conclude, research has found that organizations who implement mental health programs early in their stages of development promote work-life balance and foster a culture of openness can see greater improvements in employee morale, and obviously it leads to higher performances in terms of their teams, in terms of their projects, and in terms of the success that they eventually acquire. I guess that is it from my side. I am sure we'll have many more interesting presentations. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much for that wonderful presentation. Okay, so we'll continue with the presentation. We'll go to Angel. Angel, you may come in and do your presentation.
Awesome. Sorry, just bear with me. Oh, I may have to rejoin the call, so we may have to jump to another presentation before I'm able to share my screen. Let me see if it'll.
Okay, I think as we're waiting for him to join, we can request Dr. Zoe to come in with your presentation, and then thereafter, Angel is going to follow. Dr. Zoe, are you set?
Yes, I think it's for Gloria, who will be presenting next. So I presented, but I did not get a question. But you can come back to me because Angel has his slides up. I can see his slides. So you can come back to me with a question later after everyone has had an opportunity to present if you'd like.
Apologies.
Okay.
I am back in.
Okay.
Okay, sure, you may go on.
Yes, I'm ready. Okay, will you be sharing from your side of? Okay. Hello, everybody. I apologize for the technical delays today. I really appreciate everybody's patience. My name is Angel Torres. I am a public health educator here in Guinea, West Africa, where I specialize in maternal, child, and adolescent health. And today I'm going to be talking about creating inclusive work environments, what it looks like when we integrate mental health, equity, and holistic care across cultural contexts, with specificity to here in Guinea. Next slide, please. Next, oh, thank you. Alrighty, so a little bit about me. I am a first-generation Mexican American with ancestral roots that can be tied to many places over the world. And my professional and academic background has taken me through pre-med, political science, and business before I ultimately chose to pursue a degree in the arts. So this path not only fueled my curiosity, but it also led me to embrace my passion for dancing, singing, acting, and writing. But believe me when I say that these things never came easy to me and that I am no stranger to adversity. When I was 17 years old, I lost my dad to pancreatic cancer.
I think he's having some connectivity issue from his end. Maybe give him some time to try. In the meantime, Valencia, are you on?
Yes, we can have Gloria.
Yeah, we go to Gloria as we are waiting for Angel to regain his connectivity. Gloria, are you on the call? Are you set? Gloria.
Yes, I'm around. Thank you.
Okay. You may please come in with your presentation.
Okay, thank you so much. As initially I started, I want us to imagine a workplace where every employee feels so valued, supported, and then as well as empowered to thrive. Like a place where mental health is not just something that they talk about, but a fundamental aspect of the company's culture. So that is one of the reasons why we are here today, so that we can explore how we can dive into essential topics of this mental health at the workplace. And I am honored really so much to explore this with the team in this space. And I hope that by the end of the session, we will have dived deeper into the understanding of the importance of mental health in the workplace. And we shall also be equipped with some of the knowledge and tools to make a positive impact on our work in the environment. So we have a few of the common mental health issues that really affect employees. And some of these are like the stress that could as well lead to both physical and mental issues, like the burnout, that anxiety, the depression, and so on. We also have some of the post-traumatic stress disorders that can develop after stress or some events or some situations that we have gone through that affect our lives and as well as affect our working space and the people around us at the workplace. And certain issues like the bipolar that can cause a lot of mood swings and certain other signs of depression. We also have some things like the substance abuse, the eating disorders, the discriminations at work, the stigma, we have a lot of poor working conditions that are not favorable to the employees. So these are some of the few mental health issues that can affect the employees at workplace. But then I believe that it is really important that we address these mental health issues in the workplace. And once we address these mental health issues, we shall surely have improved employee well-being. And because when we address these issues, we shall not have employees who struggle so much in managing stress, managing anxiety, managing depressions, but then they will know how to address this and then help on improving the quality of life. We shall also have things like increased productivity at work, because a person will be able to focus and get motivated, and at the end of the day will have the job done perfectly well, thus leading to a very high productivity. And we shall also have things like reduced healthcare costs, in that if we address these challenges at the early stages, like a person or an employee will not be subjected to excess expenditure on treating in the advanced stages of mental health challenges that we face, like let's say it needs thorough medication or constant therapies, or sometimes the workers can even get lost work days because they are not really motivated and can't really attend to workplace, and they need to have that treated. We can also develop a very positive work culture that values employees' well-being and encourages their communication and support. And currently, we have a lot of legal issues concerning mental health. So once a facility or an organization makes mental health issues a concern and then they try to address them, that means that the facilities and organizations are also trying to fulfill the obligations, the legal obligations that are expected in a workplace. And I really believe there are some strategies that we can use in coping up in workplace or even promoting mental health in our workplaces. Some of these are like offering confidential support services where employees are being provided with access to confidential counseling services like employee assistance programs that can help them manage the mental health issues like stress, like problem solving issues, and all those things. We can also provide mental health awareness trainings and CMEs on mental health that will help them, the employees, to get to know more about mental health, how to identify mental health related issues that they might be facing or their colleagues that might be facing, and try to find ways of solving these issues. I believe that we can't solve something that we don't know. So if we provide these mental health awareness trainings to them, and then they get to know the mental health challenges that are existing, we can easily get to really stop this, or at least have them controlled. We can also encourage open communication that is both lateral and vertical, where open communication is encouraged among colleagues, like in the same level, and also maybe in a vertical rank where an employee can easily communicate with the managers, with the leads, with the bosses about the issues concerning mental health. If we encourage this, it helps openness, and problems shared is problems have solved. I think we should also really so much focus on work-life balance. Pardon?
You may kind of rewind up. You may wind up. We are trying to beat time.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just trying to wind up now. Like focusing on work-life balance, because one of the serious issues that people face at workplace is burnout. And if we try and focus on our work-life balance, we shall always try to get some time for ourselves and not experience the burnout that may cause severe anxiety, depression, and all those things. And yeah, so we all know a lot of benefits of mental health in our workplaces. And then I'm just here trying to encourage people that stigma and discrimination can be very significant barriers to seek help for mental health services. But then we should educate our employees, create a safe and confidential space, lead by examples. We can also normalize seeking help and encourage open communication to foster an environment where employees feel very comfortable to discuss their mental issues. Otherwise, promoting mental health in a workplace is something that is very essential for creating a supportive and productive work environment. And by prioritizing our mental health, we can provide resources and support that can create a workplace where employees can thrive and not only live. Thank you so much for this opportunity, Valencia. I think I can end up here for now.
Okay, thank you for that. Mental health is serious that needs our attention, and we really need to work together to promote mental health from our places. So I've seen Kennedy has just joined the call. Kennedy, are you okay? Presentation. Yes, Kennedy. We are not able to hear you. Okay, Kennedy. maybe as he's trying to regain his connectivity, we go back to Angel.
Hello. I'm hoping we can say third time is the charm.
Are you ready to give a presentation now?
I am.
Please go ahead. In under 5 minutes time.
Are you able? Well, let me see if I. Is everybody able to see the screen? Yes? Okay. Okay. So back to where I was. I lost my father when I was 17, and I mention this because simultaneously, this is the same year I was graduating from high school, I was going off to college, and I just started to medically shadow, working in maternal care, and it was the same year that I had aided with my first live birth. So to experience life and death at such a young age in the same year, it changed me forever. Now, eventually, my work took me to different countries, in person and online, and I was doing what I loved, helping people, but I realized that I couldn't be everywhere at once. And I struggled with that reality. So on the outside, I was building a strong career for myself. I was juggling school, working in real estate, consulting for health clinics and small businesses, and working with tech companies to support rural communities. But on the inside, I was drowning, right? The pressure to be everything for everyone took a toll on me at such a young age. And without proper guidance, I turned to unhealthy outlets and I began to isolate myself. And eventually, I felt like I had lost everything, is what I had thought. Now, everything began to change when I realized the need for a holistic approach to my own life, embracing the full spectrum of my human experience. I let myself make mistakes, and I found healing in my passions and in finding and building community. And I learned that our universal emotions, grief, love, hope, life, death, loss, that's what connects us all. Now, today, I believe in the importance of making mental health resources accessible to everybody. In the US, therapy can often be treated like a luxury. It's a form of self-care. And when you consider things globally, the disparities are even more striking. And so it's now become my mission to dedicate a part of my work to creating a more inclusive world for mental health. I believe everybody needs to feel seen, heard, and supported. So a little bit about where I'm at now. I currently work in the Mamu region of Guinea. I'm in a mountainous area about 3 hours away from the nearest city. This isn't due to distance, but because of the challenging unpaved terrain and lack of roadways. And so the health posts in which I serve, we're serving about a population of around 17,000 people. We have 6 health posts, and we have about 28 community health workers comprised of 20 local volunteers, 1 medically trained sage-femme or midwife, and 7 nurses. And together we're working tirelessly to, bridge the gap between urgent health needs and limited resources. So my role extends beyond just medical support. 2 days a week, I teach English to students, grades 7 through 10. And the rest of the time, you'll find me at the local health center, aiding with malaria testing and treatment, leading community sensitization efforts, so educating families on malaria prevention, pre and postnatal care, nutrition, and infant latching techniques. And so while this work is incredibly vital, it's not without its challenges. In a region where many struggle with economic hardship and limited access to education, initiatives like Girls Leading Our World, a Peace Corps initiative, plays a critical role in uplifting young women here in Guinea. So programs like GLOW do more than just educate, right? They create safe spaces for conversations around healthy relationships, reproductive health, HIV and AIDS, and leadership. Now, these topics are often difficult to discuss. And so the transformation that I've seen in these girls is truly inspiring. Right? We're watching them gain the confidence to share their dreams and pursue their futures. And it's been one of the most rewarding aspects of my work. So in addition to these educational programs, I also participate in statewide vaccination campaigns. So like those for vitamin A, polio, and malaria chemo prevention. So every other month, we reach over 2,000 children with these interventions. Now, it's these experiences that have shown me that mental health and overall well-being go hand in hand with physical health and access to education. So in regions like Mamu, providing comprehensive care is not just about addressing immediate health needs, but it's about building hope, resilience, and a brighter future for the next generation. Now, in my work here in Guinea, I've learned that fostering mental well-being isn't just about resources. It's about listening. It's about respecting local ways of healing and showing up for those who need it the most. Because people here, they know how to come together. They grieve and they heal as a community. But we also need to open up the tough conversations about mental health. And so, as I had mentioned before, this is about engaging community leaders and XYZ. We can't ignore the economic barriers, right, that keep these communities from accessing care, because the truth is, if we don't invest in these services in these areas, we're leaving people behind. And we need to, talk about regional intervention, engage leaders, local organizations that understand these challenges better than anybody. They're the ones who can help us bring these conversations into every home, every community center, and every clinic. So as far as equity, diversion, and inclusion goes, these can't just be buzzwords, right? They have to be our commitment, because when people are ignored, we lose the chance to create real change. And this is about acknowledging that we are responsible for one another. No one can be left behind. And by facing these truths and committing to real action, we can start to build a world where mental health isn't just for the privileged, but for every single person on this earth. And so, as I mentioned in the previous slide, young professionals in West Africa, especially those in high stress fields like healthcare and education, they're facing very unique challenges. And so many are underpaid, overworked, and dealing with immense emotional strain without a proper support system. And so we need to focus on building resilience through workshops and mental health training. We need sessions that teach practical skills for managing stress and trauma, helping professionals navigate the emotional toll of their work, and so on and so forth. And finally, just to reiterate, the financial stability is crucial. And so by working together with NGOs and local organizations and the local government, we can provide the resources that young professionals need to stay focused on their work without the constant burden of economic pressure. And this is about creating a system that's deeply practical and deeply human. To close it and bring it home, our communities here in Guinea have always known the power of coming together. We gather to celebrate, we gather to grieve, we gather to lift each other up. But now we need to take the next step, one that isn't always easy, but it's necessary. And we need to start talking openly about mental health. It's going back to ground zero. It's time to name what many of us have been feeling in silence for many, many years: stress, anxiety, depression, grief, because these aren't just individual struggles, right? They affect entire families and communities across the globe. And that's why education is key, because many of us have never been taught what mental health really means, how it affects our bodies, our minds, our spirits, right? Bringing this kind of understanding into homes, schools, and health centers can really help us recognize when we or our loved ones need support. And so this really goes back to engaging local leaders, elders, and community figures, because they are the gatekeepers of change, right? When they speak, people listen. And so we need their voices in this conversation. They can help us break the silence and make it okay for others to talk about their struggles. And finally, we have to create safe spaces, right? We've all talked about that today. Places where people feel free to express their emotions without fear of retaliation, fear of failure. And it doesn't always need to be a therapist's office, right? It can be a circle under a tree. It can be a conversation at a market. It can be a quiet moment at a health center. But by creating these spaces, we honor one another and build a community where every person feels seen and heard. Thank you so much.
That's great. Thank you for the presentation. That was really powerful. Yeah, we really need to work together as a community to attend to this pressing matter, the mental health. Okay, so we go back to Kenneth. Been informed that he's now on the call. Kenneth, you may please come in with your presentation.
Right. Thank you very much, everybody. I'm so sorry to have joined you later.
There's so much noise from the background, Kenneth. We can't hear what you are saying. Okay, I think Kennedy is having some issues with his internet from his end. Please do notify me once you get back on the call. At this point in time, allow me to go back to Zoe and give her a specific question. Okay, Dr. Zoe. So your question here is, you've worked globally and presented at a conference like Women Deliver. What differences and similarities do you observe in workplace mental health challenges across different cultures?
I love this question. And one of the reasons being is I've often reflected on how culture influences how we see the world, and then certainly how we interact with mental health. I feel that both stigma and people not feeling empowered to reach out is a global phenomena. But what we do see are profound differences. And I'd like to share some examples to highlight this. So spending many years in Thailand, one of my Thai friends there, when I told her I was a therapist, the first thing she said to me was, "Oh, so you work with crazy people?" And that's a relatively widely held view in different countries across the globe. But other examples coming closer to home, I was running a leadership session for managers across the EMEA region, and a senior leader from Nigeria asked me, "Zoe, I hear what you're saying, but do you not feel that depression is a Western construct?" And that's also one of the best questions I think I've ever been asked, because my answer to that is yes and no, because I believe that depression, as the other speakers have highlighted, is a global issue, and it is very, very present in all countries. However, how we understand depression, how we view depression, how we experience depression, how depression presents with different people, it's not a one-size-fits-all. And there are differences. So, for example, in my doctoral research, I took aim at the dominant discourse of the Western medical model as a way of understanding trauma. Because in my research, there were a lot of resilience factors such as faith, spiritual practice, and community focus, social connection, that is really not necessarily focused on in a Western medical model of approaching trauma recovery. And that is certainly something that applies to Africa and other countries. When there is a profound sense of faith with a trauma survivor, maybe we want to move away from the neuroscience of and look towards people's healing and recovery from a strengths-based model. And I also see in my own research, Cambodia had a genocide. So I was looking at intergenerational trauma, and a lot of the research that I drew from came from Rwanda and their trauma therapists that were very focused on building resilience in communities by bringing people together. Also, as the other speakers have talked about, whether that is through trauma groups, through safe spaces. And so we see elements of that in the region, which I think is very important. I don't think we can have a discussion around mental health without looking at how we describe mental health. But another observation from my work is when I've talked to Fortune 500s that have EAP services in their organizations right across Africa, Africa has the lowest uptake of access to EAP. So this is free psychological therapy. And I've asked that of senior leaders in the region, why do you think that is? Why do you think, in comparison to other countries in the Middle East and Europe, does Africa have people not wanting to access service even when it is, counselling services, even when it is free? And some of the responses have talked about people might seek spiritual guidance or religious guidance rather than going to a counsellor, and that there is some stigma around people who go to a counsellor must be crazy or mentally unwell. Now, yes, people can have mental health issues, but people also can access counselling for stress, anxiety. It doesn't mean that, as my Thai friend likes to say, that you're crazy if you're going to see a counsellor. And what I also see in the statistics is it's the younger generation that are really challenging the norm. When we look at the LinkedIn data on Gen Z, 80% of Gen Z, according to LinkedIn, want mental health days. And that's not something that would have been present in my parents' generation. They're baby boomers and I'm Gen X. And I think that's excellent. I'm seeing it's the younger generation that are saying we want to have access to support, and our mental health is just as important as our physical health. So they're probably the main ideas and examples I wanted to share in response to that question. But I'd also like to come to someone commented in the chat. Thank you for your comment, because I think they've raised a really important point about wanting to feel validated in the work that they do. And this also speaks to connection, because if you come to work and you're working with a really good team, there is psychological safety and trust. Your colleagues, some of them might even be friends as well as colleagues, and you feel that you're recognized by the organization. Not only is this likely to have you stay with the organisation and be loyal, it also can help create a buffer for mental health, because that sense of connection through your work, through your team, can also lead to feelings of higher self-esteem and feeling that we have value in our work, and that can buffer stress. So I think I wanted to comment on that. And that's it for me. I'll hand it back over. And just one other thing. I do need to sign off. I'd love to hear the rest of the recording because I want to hear from the speakers. But I have a nice and early 6 a.m. session, and it's already 10:15 my time. So I just wanted to say thank you so much for enabling me to join today. It's been a real pleasure, and I'm looking forward to hearing the recording and what emerges after I sign off. So thanks so much, everyone. Bye-bye.
Okay, thank you so much for that response. Okay, so we go back to Angel. I have a follow-up question for you, Angel. Are you on the call?
Yes, tell me, ask me.
Okay, okay, great. So creativity and mental health, mental well-being. In your experience as a multi-hyphenate artist, how do you believe creative expression can play a role in promoting mental health and resilience in the workplace? And then there's a part B of this question. What practices can employees adopt to harness creativity for mental well-being? If it's not clear, can you read the question again for you?
Yes, please.
Okay, in your experience as a multi-hyphenate artist, how do you believe creative expression can play a role in promoting mental health and resilience in the workplace? And then the second part, what practices can employees adopt to harness creativity for mental well-being? Are we good to go? Are we good to go, Angel? Okay, we seem to have lost him.
Okay. Yeah, I think that creative expression is powerful, and it tends to be a tool that's, you know, that's often overlooked in promoting health and resilience, and especially in workplace settings. Um, and I've seen firsthand how creativity not only allows for emotional release, but also helps in building, you know, adaptability, problem solving, community connection, all of which are essential for mental well-being in high pressure environments. And so, you know, journaling or creative writing sessions, art or music breaks, collaborative brainstorming sessions, you know, art for empathy initiatives. And it's really these kinds of programs where you can incorporate, you know, arts therapy or creative workshops or improv classes that, you know, you offer your employees, you offer spaces, you offer communities a safe space to explore, a safe space to express emotions in nonverbal ways, helping them build, you know, resilience in the face of personal and professional stress. And so I found that creative expression isn't just an outlet, but it is a transformative tool that can really help reshape how individuals and organizations view mental health. It's incorporating these kinds of practices that I think employees can foster emotional agility, enhance their mental well-being, and build more resilient and empathetic workplace cultures.
Oh, we seem to have lost Angel again. It's like he's really having issues with his internet.
Muted his response. Yeah.
Okay. I think it's safe to move to the next speaker. Looking at time. Okay, Doc, are you set? Here's your question. Moshada, you on the call?
Yes.
Okay, your question is, in your experience working across youth empowerment and social work, what are the most pressing mental health issues facing young people today entering the workforce today? Let me just read the question again. In your experience working across youth empowerment and social work, what are the most pressing mental health issues facing young people entering the workforce today?
So for me, if I had to narrow it down to two most important pressing mental health issues for the younger population, it would be anxiety and depression. Even research has showed that young people in the age group between 14 to 25 face higher levels of anxiety and depression. So coming to anxiety and the stress stemming from that, I believe it comes from the pressure to succeed, the need to meet really high expectations as they navigate the younger life to the adulting period. There is this need to navigate an increasingly competitive job market and to find that stability in life that most people aspire for. And all of that can lead to significant levels of anxiety and stress. Coming together with that, we have depression. So they often the younger generation have to deal with feelings of isolation, and coupled with the bane of technology, they do connect to their peers online, but they fail to make that important social connection in real life. And so they feel alone and uncertain about their future. And these challenges may seem really daunting to them. And they find it very difficult to adjust to this new life experience, leading to depression and really high levels of feelings of of isolation, leading to maybe further caving into the higher levels of depression and not really asking for help at the most important of times. And so it can really lead to that toxic cycle. And if they do find a job in the job market, if they do start earning really young, they may experience burnout coming due to the high workloads. They may not be knowledgeable enough about their rights as an employee. They may have to face longer hours, and eventually a lack of work-life balance, as they really are driven by the passion, by the need to earn higher wages. And so it can really exacerbate those problems further. And sorry. Oh, okay. There is also the lack of support, which I found is one of the most important factors, which can really make a huge difference. Whether actually the lack of that of support can make a huge difference in how the outcomes may eventually appear in the lives of the younger generation. So if they lack that support in terms of family, in terms of the social circles, in terms of education, in terms of economics, in terms of psychological support, mental health support, emotional support, they may find themselves really struggling with all these issues, and these issues impacting their ability to cope with stress at the workplace, stress in their own personal lives, stress in their own personal and social connections, further triggering more problems and leading to this endless circle of anxiety and depression, which I find are one of the most important problems that we have to tackle in the younger generation, making sure that they don't face this issue single-handedly. And
Okay,
that will
thank you.
be it from my side. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much for the response. That was really insightful. We go to the next speaker. Valenza, help me. Oh, okay, yeah, cool. So Gloria, you're on the call. Okay, so here's your question, Gloria. What are some of the key strategies you found to be effective in promoting mental well-being and resilience amongst young people in workplaces within your setting? I read the question again. What are some of the key strategies you found to be so effective in promoting mental well-being and resilience amongst young people in workplaces within your setting? You may please come on and help us to attempt this question.
Okay, thank you so much. Some of the strategies that I myself, and according to the spaces have worked and the experiences that I have that have really promoted mental health, or it has helped the improvement in mental health and promoting resilience. We have something like open communication. I've realized that once people learn to openly communicate to the people they trust, they tend to get skills or ways that they can cope up easily with the stress, with the anxiety, with the mental health challenges that they're facing, and it helps them get better in whatever they're doing. as well as manager support. Manager support, this is one thing that where I work, I really appreciate that it is it is something that is really taking place, like it is not something they just talk about. Where the manager, whenever they identify a challenge with a worker, with an employee, they come in to really help that employee address these issues or aid them in the ways that they should cope up with these challenges. It helps us young people. We really need guidance in each and every aspect of our lives. So if the people we are looking up to, like our bosses, are able to see that we are facing some challenge and then they are able to help us, it gives us that feeling that we can be resilient enough and then we can overcome some other issues that really come up. Other things like trainings and education on mental health helps us, the youth, and then the employees has really helped too. Like, let us know about mental health challenge. Like personally, I went through series of depression, anxiety, stress, and a lot for years, longer than 5 years. And for all this long, I really didn't know that I was going through this. It was not until that I got to know about something called depression and mental health issues some 2 years ago that I really came to a realization that really there is something called mental health challenge that I was facing and I didn't know. And it was all because of an education that I came across and helped me discover myself. And then through that, I had to look for ways of helping myself out of these situations that I was facing. Things like flexible work hours, work arrangements, also helps so much in promoting resilience, in that you really know that even if the space at work may not be so favorable, at the end of the day, you have time off work to reflect on yourself, to do certain personal things that you like your hobby, to do certain mindful activities, or even involve in exercises, and also interact with the people that you love so that you can get that calmness and that peace that you feel when you're with people. Wellness programs at workplaces, like some safe spaces, these are things like, let us say, physical exercises, and things like gifting employees that can create a lot of bondage and correlation between employees. It helps us, first of all, to bond with our fellows, as well as as well as it also helps us to cope up with issues like once we involve ourselves into those physical exercises. We tend to get freshened up, and at the end of the day, we are relaxed and at least have some moment where we are not so tensed up in the brain and all that. Practicing good relationships at workplace with the workmates, with our bosses, with our supervisors, and then the people that we supervise as well, is really something that that promotes that resilience, because if you have good relations with people you're working with, you can easily open up to communicate with them in case of any challenge. And you can easily as well identify maybe the challenges they're facing and help them. It gives you that feeling of resilience, and it also helps you to cope up with certain mental health challenges that you may be facing. Let us talk of offering confidential support services, like counseling by either maybe certain team members who are trained in the areas of counseling at workplaces, or even by our leaders, where an employee gets to know that if I go to so and so with my issues are going to be safe. It's not something that is going to be the talk of the workplace at the end of the day, but it is safe with that person, and it helps someone to easily open up to communicate the issues that they're facing. And it also reduces the fear of stigma, because that is one thing that a lot of people who are facing mental health challenges fear so much, stigma. And it lets them not open up in any way. But if we emphasize on confidentiality, I'm sure that at least people will open up more, and then we shall find ways of helping each other more. And there is leading by example. If the people, like the leaders in the community, are prioritizing the mental health, and also for those ones who are so much actively engaged or involved in studies of issues, if they first prioritize the mental health, the rest of the team can easily learn from them. Actually, they easily learn from them. And then they'd be like, if so and so is prioritizing his or her mental health, there is a way naturally they also get attracted to something like that. Because once you prioritize your mental health and then you are improving in productivity, and you improve yourself, you yourself are improving time and again, the good thing in you will always have people attracted to do the things that you are trying to do. And in our environment, people are individually unique in their own ways. So another strategy that can really help us promote mental well-being and resilience among the youth in the workplace is knowing self-worth, one's self-worth and individualism. This is something like, if we get to discover ourselves and know my worth, what I can bring to the table, and that I am uniquely different from the rest, so I don't have to be pressured that someone has gone so much ahead of me. I don't have to be pressured that this person has received the Employee of the Month award 3 times in a year, but I have not received. It doesn't mean you are not worth it. You are worth something more. If we get to realize this, we are going to avoid that unnecessary pressure and the stress that comes with it, the anxiety that comes with it, and then our productivity keeps on increasing. Another that has particularly worked with me as well is relying fully on the Word of God for comfort, for solace. Sometimes you don't really know where else to look at, but there is some comfort in this field that it is hard to explain, but it is really there. And I think some of the strategies are being implemented at certain workspaces, but some are not really being implemented. And if we just avoid the talk only and start walking the talk, start living what we really speak, start really practicing these things at our workplaces, creating these safe spaces, emphasizing on these open communications and focusing more on confidentiality, I'm sure that with time, slowly, mental health issues is something that is going to be something that a person won't fear to open up because of certain issues, but rather they will speak out the issues that they're facing, and once they speak out these issues, they're going to be helped. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, Gloria, for that wonderful response that you've just given to us. It's really so educative, and yeah, for sure. We go back to Kennedy's question. He's not left the call, unfortunately, but however, I'm going to pose this question to any of you speakers who will be able to attempt it. You can kindly come and attempt it. So the question is, as a mental health advocates, what innovations are you working on to support maternal and child mental health? And how do you envision these being applied to broader workplace settings? I read the question again. What innovations are you working on to support maternal and child mental health? And how do you envision these being applied to broader workplace settings? So I'll ask any of the speakers to just unmute and to try to tackle the question. Anybody from the speakers on the call? Dr. Zoe? Angel? Okay, Dr. Moshada?
Um, I would not say it's an innovation that I'm working on. It's actually a simple uh, education and awareness solution that we can apply easily to these different situations when it comes to maternal and child mental health. So, as a healthcare practitioner in a public hospital uh, run by the state, and as a former intern in the obstetrics and gynecology department, where I had to where I had patients, where I had done CS on patients, where I had talked to mothers throughout their pregnancy, whether they were coming to the hospital for antenatal care and even postnatal up to 6 weeks postnatal. Yeah. So what I did was talk to them. So there would be at least 5 to 10 minutes of counseling in those sessions, whether it was antenatal or postnatal, where we would talk to mothers about understanding this process that they are going through, what it means to go through a pregnancy, how to deal with the pregnancy as a mother, as a future parent, and how it can affect their physical and obviously physical and mental health. And so it was important to highlight to them the new roles that they would have to quickly grow into, the new responsibilities that they would have, especially when they're younger parents, and to be knowledgeable about possible outcomes like postpartum depression. And so it was really interesting to talk to these mothers and talk to them about issues that they have to know about, and so that they could read about and come back to discuss with me in the clinic. And so I think this was a small part that I played when it came to working on maternal mental health to mothers who were about to conceive or mothers who had already had a child. Yeah.
Okay, that's good. Gloria, do you want to also attempt? Okay, I think that is it. Valencia, do you help me with the next slide? Okay, so this actually was supposed to be Kennedy's presentation, and it seems like his network has really disappointed him. However, I'm going to go through it. If you'd just give me the slides so that under a few minutes time, I just read through it. Okay, so aspects of mental health. Mental health, we're talking about thinking, emotions, perception, and functionality. The next slide. So mental health determinants. We have biological factors, we have social factors, we also have psychological factors. We move. So improving mental health in work environment requires deliberate effort, such as management level, and number two, at also a personal level. Okay, so raise mental health and well-being awareness. So a vital step toward reducing the stigmas surrounding mental illnesses in this workplace is raising awareness. That's number one, from top top-down and bottom-up communication about mental health and well-being. Number 2, we have training for managers to improve their ability to recognize and address mental health and workplace stresses related issues. The next slide. Manage psychosocial risks related to work, environment, and culture. So exposure to psychosocial hazards in the workplace has been associated with work-related stress, anxiety, and depression. So number 1, we have employee involvement. Number 2, we have work-life integration. Number 3, we have employee growth and development. We also have health and safety, including psychological safety. We also have diversity, equity, and inclusion. We also have employee recognition. Lastly, we also have a health work environment. We can go to the next slide. Okay, so assess mental health and well-being needs and measure intervention impact. So employee mental health and well-being needs and barriers can vary widely across organizations, industries, geography, and more. So number 1, repeat opportunity assessment measures over time in the same employee population. Workplace outcomes, health utilization outcomes, manage and monitor psychosocial risk factors and stressors. We can move on to the next slide. So provide and promote access to evidence-based, high quality and mental health care. Quality mental health care is care that is safe, effective, patient-centered, timely, efficient, and equitable. So number 1, we have access to high quality mental health care through health plans and provider partnerships. Promotion of mental health care access options and programs. Equitable and timely access to evidence-based mental health care. We may proceed to the next slide. Okay, so the other aspect is integrate mental health and well-being into a comprehensive wellness strategy. So individuals with mental health conditions are at increased risk for adverse physical health conditions and outcomes, making integration of wellness initiatives into employee mental health and well-being strategy vital. So comprehensive wellness strategies cover multiple areas of wellness, such as number 1, we have emotion. Number 2, we have spiritual. We have intellectual. We have physical. We have environmental, financial, occupation, and social. We may move on. Okay, so the other aspect is partner with local and or national organizations to extend and share mental health and well-being practices. Employers can extend the reach of their mental health and well-being initiatives, partnering with organizations to enhance the awareness of resources available to the organization. Employers can also promote mental health and well-being for employers by leveraging resources available, public health departments, parks and recreational agencies, vetted and quality assured online resources. We may move to the next slide. So the summary, number 1, leadership demonstrating support and care shows the organization is commitment to the importance of employee mental health and well-being. Number 2, identification of psychosocial hazards in the workplace is an important step to identify opportunities to improve employee mental health and well-being. Number 3, ongoing review and evaluation of mental health and well-being initiatives at all levels of the organization, ensure resources remain relevant and effective. Number 4, providing and promoting access to high-quality behavioral health care, including through remotely delivered evidence-based pathways, ensures that employees have access to their preferred type of care when they need it. Number 5, integrating these services into a comprehensive wellness strategy may concurrently promote improved total health outcomes. Number 6, community partnership extend the reach and resources of organizations and provide new opportunities to collaborate and be part of the solution. Next slide. Okay, so that's basically, that was the presentation that Kennedy was supposed to run us through. Okay, yeah, so from here, we'll go to question and answer session. So at this point in time, I'm going to just a second. Okay, so we can go to question and answer session. I now want to interact with the audience. You've been so attentive, very quiet. It's now your time to actually ask that burning question that you've had from the beginning of the presentation up to this very time. So I'm going to ask if there's anybody who has got a question, just guest up. You can just raise your hand up, and then we'll be able to pick at you. And then I'm also going through the chat. I'm not able to see any question. However, there is a comment or a contribution from Sisi Rejoice. I'm not able to see anyone raising up a hand. Okay, allow me to read this comment from Sisi. So, okay, so she's saying, mine is not a question, it's a contribution towards what Dr. Zoe has said on how to deal with mental well-being. One needs to know his or her purpose at workplaces. Let's talk about it and not to keep it to ourselves, and always have a platform to give each other chances to express ourselves. Despite the circumstances that might be faced at work, at the end of the day, I need to know myself worthy, how to value myself. Okay, so this is Sisi Joyce from Zimbabwe. Okay. Okay, so that's the only contribution that we have. We don't seem to have any burning question from the audience. Okay, so allow me to just go through this to everyone in the meeting. We are encouraging each one of us to actually participate in each and every activity that we conduct as YALDA family. And I'm appealing and asking to you all to follow us on different platforms, such as on YALDA International Facebook page, where you can catch us by typing www.facebook.com/YALDA, and you'll find so much information that is going to help you. You can also catch us on Twitter. We're there. We are also on Instagram at YALDA Damula. And then you can also join our WhatsApp and Telegram groups. We are also on YouTube. You can kindly join our channels there. And also on LinkedIn, we are there. These platforms, they really have very educative information that we might need as young people. So you need to register also in our mailing list so that you can receive the latest update about Africa development and any other matters that are so of great importance to us as young people. There are also employment opportunities that are posted on the pages. We also have scholarship opportunities that are posted there. And there's so much information that can inspire you as a youth. So we really urge and encourage each one of you here to follow and like our Facebook page, our Twitter, our Instagram, and all our socials. Okay, so at this point in time, I'm going to ask okay, so I'm going to ask any speaker, if there's anybody who has got a burning point, to just unmute your mic in under 1 minute time, and please give us your conclusion remarks. Maybe I start with Dr. Zoe. Okay, maybe we go to Angel. Any concluding remarks?
Yeah, I think that, what I've learned in my life and today as well, so much information, is that, healing is a process, and it takes time, love, and compassion and grace. And I think it's really about being present with yourself and others. It's creating space for vulnerability and understanding that, as Dr. Zoe, I believe, had mentioned, there is no one size fits all solution to mental health. And we have to honor each person's journey and meet them where they are, So thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to be here today. It's been an honor and a privilege.
Thank you so much. Dr. Moshada, any concluding remarks?
I would say that I'm really inspired by each and every one of us, especially the speakers who have shared with us their passion for what they do in their everyday lives, how they are helping to make sure that the situation gets better and that there's mental health education and awareness at all levels of population, in all age groups, and in different sectors, in different situations, whether professional or personal. And I believe that we as the emerging generation, we can do much more to really make a difference in the way that we treat people, in the way that we connect with people. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much. Under a minute, Gloria, if you are in, you may please come in and give us your concluding remarks. Okay, it seems like she has left the call. We, however, proceed. So at this juncture, allow me to say thank you so very much to each and every one of you who has actually managed to spare their precious time to join this call. You've been an amazing audience and presenters, and we look forward to more of such interactive and educative webinars where young people like ourselves, we are going to, bring out initiatives that we are going to implement in order to bring about how we can better ourselves. As we have all heard for ourselves, mental health is really, really a serious matter that requires each and every one of us to come together as a brother, as a sister, and we join hands to fight this serious matter. From my end, I think this is the end of our call. Valencia, you may come in if there's anything that we have left out that
We are good.
we need to point out.
It's all fine. Yeah.
I couldn't get you clear.
Oh, it's okay. It's okay.
Okay, all right. So thank you so much once more for joining this call. And from my end, I think this is where we end the call.